Alright, so we're going to start classifying. We're in 5.1 midterm notes. We're going to start classifying triangles by their sides and then by their angles. So we're looking at this. We're going to fill in the blanks. Classifying by sides, you're looking at how many sides are congruent. In our first triangle, none of them are congruent. We call that scalene. Our second triangle has at least two congruent sides, signified by these little tick marks. That's called isosceles. And then the last, you have three congruent sides, which is called equilateral. These are terms on your midterm, so make sure you know which one goes to where. And then the next section, you have classifying by angles. So you always look at the largest angle. So look at largest angle. So this first one, the largest angle realistically could be this one, but either way it is acute because the largest angle is definitely less than 90. They're all less than 90. This next one, the largest angle, is the 90-degree angle, which would be a right triangle. This next one, the largest angle, is obtuse, which makes it an obtuse triangle. And then the last, all of the angles are congruent, which makes it equiangular. So keep in mind, let's find this. If it is equiangular, it is equilateral. Those will always go together. If you have three equal sides, you have three equal angles. Two equal sides means two equal angles, and so on and so forth. So we're going to use this to classify on the bottom. Classify the triangle by its sides and by its angles. So by its sides, in the first one, I don't see any marked congruent, so that makes them scalene. And then classifying by its angles, the largest angle is Q, which is obtuse. Number 2, by its sides, it is still scalene, because none of them are congruent. By its angles, this one should have a right angle. It's a printing error. So this is a scalene right triangle. So again, you want to look for the box, but in this picture it just didn't print out. So it is what it is. And then our last one, classified by the sides. We have two congruent sides, which makes it isosceles. And then the largest angle realistically looks like one of these bottom angles, which is acute. Acute. Sorry, my OCD made that to be purple. So there's that. And then we flip. There's some theorems that go along with 5.1. Triangle sum theorem. The sum of the measures of the interior angles in a triangle is 180. So the interior add up to 180. In our first example, we'll start with that 71x minus 1 plus 20x plus 90, and it equals 180. Combine our like terms. Let's combine some x's. 71x plus 20x, which makes 91x. And then we have minus 1 plus 90, which is 89. Subtract 89. So on the left, we only have 91x. On the right, we actually have 91. Divide by 91, and x equals 1. It did not ask to find x, it asked to find angle A. So we'll plug it back in. So 20 times 1, which is obviously 20. So the measure of angle A is 20. Do the same thing with the second one. Take 75 plus x plus 52 plus 67 plus x and they equal 180. Combine your like terms. We have x plus x, which makes 2x. Add 75, 52, and 67, which makes 194. Subtract 194. 2x equals negative 14. So then x equals negative 7. So we're going to have to plug it back in because it asks for angle A, which is right here. Negative 7 plus 52. So the measure of angle A is 45. Alright, this next part, the exterior angle theorem. The measure of an exterior, so fill in the blank, exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum, so remember sum means addition, the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So in this picture, that means the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B equals the measure of angle 1. So add the two inner, and they will equal the outer. So my two inner, 53 plus 53, they will equal the measure of the outer angle, so 106. So the measure of angle 1 is 106 degrees. Here we'll have to do some algebra, which is okay. Add the two inner, 40 plus 5x plus 15 equals 8x minus 5. So we have 40 plus 15, which is 55. Drop down that 5x equals 8x minus 5. Move the smaller x, which would be 5x. 55 equals 3x minus 5. I'm running out of room, so sorry. Add 5. I'm going to scooch everything. So the right still has 3x, the left says 60, and x equals 20. It did not ask me what x was. It asked me the measure of the exterior angle. So that's what we're going to plug it in, into the exterior. So 8 times 20 minus 5. 8 times 20 is 160, minus 5 is 155 degrees. Go ahead and flip to the next page. We'll stop after this page. In a right triangle, so stop what you're doing. Go ahead and draw a right triangle. In a right triangle. So remember in these problems I told you one of the angles will always be x. X always represents the other acute angle. You'll see that in the in the words. So the measure of one acute angle is twice, so 2 times, twice the sum. So this is when we said we're going to add first. Sum means the answer to an addition problem. So you add first and multiply second. So the sum of the measure of the other acute angle, which we said was x, and 30. So this angle up here is 2 times x plus 30. So from here, we're going to add our 3 angles. So 2 times x plus 30. So got that one. Plus x. Plus x. And then plus 90. There's my third angle. And it equals 180 degrees. So distribute 2x plus 60 plus x plus 90 equals 180. Combine your like terms. 2x and x make 3x. 60 and 90 make 150. Subtract 150. And 3x equals 30. X equals 10. So we have to go back through and plug it in. X equals 10, that's one of them. The other one, plug in. So 2 times 10 plus 30. 10 plus 30 is 40. 2 times 40 is 80. So those are your two answers. Find the measure of each acute angle. So we found the measure of each acute angle. And then we move on. In the figure, KLQJ is congruent to MLPN. Identify all pairs of corresponding congruent parts. So remember this part, when it says this, you're going to list the congruent angles and the congruent, congruent sides. Everything that you need to know about the figure is written right there in the congruent statement. So we're going to start listing with angles. So angle K is the first letter. It's going to be congruent to angle M because it is also the first letter. So move on to the next one. So it'll be L and L. Angle L is congruent to angle L. Shocking. Move on to the next one, third letter, which would be Q and P. Angle Q is congruent to angle P. And then last, J and N. Angle J is congruent to angle N. So that concludes the sides. We still need, the angles. We still need to list the sides. So again, you can use a statement. I would start with KL. KL are the first two letters. So side KL is congruent to side ML. So that's the first one. Move on to the next two letters, which would be LQ is congruent. LQ is congruent to LP. QJ is congruent to PN. And then KJ, sure, why not? KJ is congruent to MN. You could have looked at the picture, or you could just look at the statement. Either way. The last part says, then write a congruent statement. So I graded the tests. You either skipped it or you could have gotten it right. But some people kept writing triangle. Is this a triangle? So why would I name it a triangle if it's not a triangle? I wouldn't. So if you notice how they named it, they did not use a symbol at all. They just used the 4 vertices. The most popular way I've seen people write a new statement is just to write it backwards, which is perfectly fine with me. So JQLK is congruent to. So if I did J first from the first one, the second figure will have to have N first. N and then PLM. So it's the second part of the answer. The last says find the measure of angle 1. So what's important is that you look at angle 1 and it has this arc. This means congruent. So it means angle 1 is congruent to angle Q. If you notice, angle Q is inside of a triangle where you already have 2 of the angles, and you could very easily find the measure of angle Q. So we're going to add them, which makes 134, and then subtract them from 180, because we already have 134 degrees in the triangle. We need to find what remains. So subtract, and you get 46, correct? 46, yep. So if U is 46, the measure of angle 1 is also 46. Ta-da! Number 3 is even easier. It doesn't look like it at first. It looks very complicated. Well, it's just like the one we've been doing. It's not even easier, I wouldn't say. It's like the one that we did for the previous test, where I told you to split up the 2 triangles. So we're going to take these 2 triangles and separate them. Take all the information that they have. This is A, B, C. A has that arc. Actually, we're not. Go ahead and erase everything you had. We overthought this. So erase it all. Let's go back to the basics. If you look, there are these arcs. What do these arcs mean? It means they're congruent. So all of the angles that have 1 arc in them are congruent. So the measure of angle 1 is 33. We could have taken it apart, and it would have taken longer, and it would have been a lot of work just to find out that when you have an arc and an arc, that means that they're congruent. But we already knew that. So make sure you don't overthink things like I do at 8 o'clock at night. That's my bedtime. It's probably when you wake up from your afternoon naps, but this is where we're going to stop for today. We'll finish the rest of Chapter 5 tomorrow.